was looking for some HO stock that could be adapted for the Russian models and themes I'm now building, I looked through some old photographs and I came across oil tankers for carrying crude oil in the USSR that looked just like the classic American. Well, you get them in every country. I've seen these type oil tankers in every country, and they have the dome on the top with the ladders up the side for loading and unloading. I also think this is for venting gases. And I've seen pictures of similar tanks in England in the steam train days and around Europe. And I think I've even seen these in Sri Lanka when I was there. They were probably used for carrying molasses to bakeries and things like that. They're very common all over the world. And the ones in Russia seem to have lasted a very long time. Now, I model 1960s and 70s. That's the kind of era I like to model. So they probably would have been still in service by then. They tend to last a very long time because they carry oil. There's a preservative quality to the crude oil being transported in them for the wagon itself. They were both old Varney models, and they were in bad shape. The ladders were missing, the decals were all scratched off. They looked like they were fake liveries anyway, and they were silver and things like that. What I did was I spray painted them black. First I replaced the ladders that I had. That instantly made a huge difference. The coupler needs a bit of fixing. If you put these on I don't have decals, and you'll often see these all over the world when they're black. They're covered in oil, and especially if they're old, they don't stay black, but they don't go all rusted. Parts of them do, but not all of them. So what I did was I spray painted them black, and if you're going to run them on the layout, even with the 3-foot rule, they look like, this is under very bright lights here, but on normal, the lights in my layout room, or most layout rooms, they just look like black sausages running around the layout. They have no, and that's a shame because they're full of character and detail. So we're going to try and bring out the detail and character, and the first thing I did was roughly spray painted the bottom with red primer, because this would be rusting, okay? And I did the same on both of them, and I didn't care if there was an overspray onto the model. Didn't bother me one bit, because these are going to be old tankers in service. Now we're going to weather them very simply by dry brushing, to bring out the details, by dry brushing on Vallejo, just basic white, okay? And then we're going to do some other secondary rusting teams. Now, dry brushing it's not easy. It's an actual, a bit of an art to get it right, and I'm nowhere near proficient at it. You look at some of these military modelers; they have incredible dry brushing techniques. So basically, what it is to put a small piece of paint on a piece of cardboard like this, and then make sure the brush is on the brush. And then get nearly all of it out until you don't have any more streaks like this. Okay, and then you go to your model, and starting with horizontal strokes like this, you start picking out the details, and you will see how the details start coming out. Now, the reason why you do it this way is because you want to make it look like the lay of the land. Now, you can already see there's a white highlight on that. It's no longer now, just flat black. When you hit the details here, it really brings them out. Now, I probably overdid that one a bit, but that's no problem. You just go painting somewhere else on the top of the model, like this, dry brushing, and come back to this. We're going to be doing oil stains on this, so I'm not particularly worried about it, okay? So if you compare the two already, it's still black, it's not even grey. Now it's amplified here, you'll see it on the layout running later, but it's amplified here because of the light, and you're seeing against pure black. But it's still black what I'm looking at. And then you just keep doing that on both sides. Dab of paint on the cardboard. Get rid of 90% of it. And then you can do the side, the second, well, not the side, but the top side, the upper side. And don't worry if it streaks too much. And as I said, we're going to be doing Like that was probably a bit much, but look, it comes off easy enough. And don't make it uniform, make it random. You can see the ladders now gets more visible. The piping on the side, or whatever that is, the rivets start coming out. And if you feel like you've put on too much, it comes off easy enough. Now this one I messed up. I put a little bit too much white on it. Problem very easily solved. Dry brush some black over it, and you can just tone down what you did already. There. Ideally what you want is like a dirty grey colour, and underneath the details showing. Put some more white on, and I'll do this side first. And now I can do the lower bottom part like this. And there, we can see the lather pops out. I'm doing the bottom. And there we go. I'll do the other side. Tiny bit of white paint. A rule I go by, if I've overdone it here, I haven't overdone it, just there's more here than there. I will do it down here to give some life on that side. It needs to be more streaky looking going up. Like a way an artist paints mountains or hills, following the lay of the land. Now we can do this area. I don't do it it's basically what's left on the brush I will use to do this area here and on the ends. And on both ends. These are American ones, and they have the brake wheel on the end. These are going to be generic, even though they're going on the, with the Russian stock. I'll be using them with other things. They'll be I have generic stock like silver coaches and things like that, stainless steel coaches, and they'll be generic stock. I'm not going to bother putting decals on them. Well, maybe one day if I get the right decals, but not for now. I'm not. And you do a bit of dry brushing on the bogies. And down here. Okay, now already that's going to start. You can see the difference of contrast. This one will stand out on the layout. This one won't until it's done. We can see the details better on the roof. We can appreciate the details on the side, and you can see already. It looks like a model, and this is we're going to be doing a thing it's ancient. It looks like it's been on the railway for 40 or 50 years, and so that's one done. And there we go. Now we have these two done, and automatically not only are they more realistic looking from the weathering, substantially more realistic, and just a dry brushing of white. We're going to add some extra rust details. Now what I do for this is I use Tamina orange rust, or whatever it's called, panel liner. And the panel liner comes with a little small applicator brush, because it's designed for lining panels on model planes and rivet lines. I'm going to use a regular brush, a regular paint brush that I have here, because I want more of the rust to come through. The chemical pigment tends to lie at the bottom. This is not a water-based product. It's like an ink. And the first place, well, you'll have rust down here on this walking area, and you don't rub it. You dab it like that. You can see that it's orangey, and it will tone down the rust on the steps. And I'll put some on the trucks here, and on here, and a bit on the ladder, randomly a bit here and there. And the ends here, you might get a bit of rust on these guys here, these valves or whatever they are. Do the other side. See, you can really see it came out quite good there. That's the pigment at the bottom. I don't care that that's way overdone. I'm not bothered by it. It won't dry as severe. I just take some extra off and put it down here, and maybe some up here. Like I said, this is be above where the oil spills out, and it's a good one. It's actually useful for picking the ladder out. The rust color is good for the ladder. It'll like contrast paint, although this is oil based. It will run where you want it to run. Look at that. And I'll do the same here, down there. You know, these have been in imagine them in the harsh Russian winter for 40, 50 years. Maybe longer. You don't want them looking like they just came out of the workshop. This is good for picking out the rivets as well. I'll do it on the other one, just on one side. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. I'll just do the trucks here. The bogies. Okay, going to leave that to dry. See how quick and easy that was? I think these don't look good when you just have one of them in a rake running on its own. Because it's crude oil, these would normally be running in long tanker trains from the oil fields to the refinery or the processing plant. I think two of them you can get away with. You can just use artistic or modeler's license to say came from the refinery, a specialist lubricant for some kind of specialist machinery, and they only needed 2 tanks for work or something. So you can get away with that. So far so good. Well, here they both are. And I'm not even going to bother giving them a coat of matte varnish. I think they look fine as they are. Okay, it's a bit shiny on the bottom, but I'm not really bothered by that. We're going to do some leakage of crude oil coming down from the loading area at the top, the valve, the vent, that will come down here, pool on this step, and then roll down the sides here, and then pool over here a little bit on the ladder, because when it's being filled or unloaded, the pipe comes out, or the hose comes out, and you'll have spillages down the ladder, and I'll do that on both sides. Now, I use a very small brush for this, because I want to control it. I don't want to have a huge area of paint, and I'm using Hornby 85 sat, so just putting a little piece on a container or a small thing here to little makeshift palette I have. Now I don't want to ruin what I've done here, so there's the hinges where it pops open, so the oil will have spilled around here and around here. So I'll do one side first, trying not to get it on and I'm going thick with this. I'm going fairly thick. So we put a bit down the ladder like that. Over here it's coming around the ladder like that. And it will run down the side here and pooled around this area here. Try to make it as rough as possible. Try not to have perfectly smooth edges, because splashes will be like that. And here. And then it'll be around in here and around in here and a bit down through there. Now this comes around here like this and goes around the hinge and down the bottom and pools in this area here. And then thin it out as you go out towards. Thick directly underneath and then thin out, because you would have like feet dragging oil around. And the same on this side, around here, straight down. It's following the following the banding here, and then pulled here, and then roughly bring it around. It's helping to bring out the grid effect on the walkway. There we go. There's one side done. Years of crude oil spilling down the side. I think the ladder could do it a bit more as well. Something like that, just to almost like dry brush it down. Yeah, that looks better. And then I'm going to try and use the point. This way I use a tiny brush. Just trying to flay this out a bit so it's not, you know, a very uniform tight edge. And the same on this side. If this dries much too gloss, then I'll hit it with a matte varnish, and the black will still stand out. It all depends how this is dried. I've done this on N gauge and N scale oil wagons many years ago when I used to model on that scale, and I can't remember how it came out. Was happy with it or not, but down the sides, on the ladder, too much. On the ladder, a bit of black on the hinge here, because when that was lifted up it would spill oil down this way. Okay. And I'll do the pooling, the puddling down the bottom here, and like the other ones. You see it's coming down, it's flowing over each side of the walkway, down onto the grated area, and down onto the tracks. Okay, I think I will I'll leave these two fellows to dry and see what happens. Well, here we are with the finished models. I think I'm pretty happy with how they came out. They no longer will look like two black sausages running around the layout. They're suitably weathered, easy to do. The oil stains, it did dry out a satin black, so it wasn't too glossy, so I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm happy as it is. There's enough weathering. You can see the weathering on the end there, the rusting effect. And all in all, a very satisfying project. I can't complain. So I'm not going to run them just yet because the couplers are, the cement on the couplers, the adhesive, the glue and glaze is still drying. But they'll be running the next rake. So basically aiming for Russian models, but they're universal and they'll probably find themselves in other rakes on Arcadia Junction. Take care.